News, the UN has heard that 10,000 more troops are needed in the Central African Republic. This by the UN, the French envoy to the UN, who was speaking a short while ago ahead of a vote which gave European troops in the country the right to use force henceforth. For more on that story, I'm joined now by France's envoy to the UN, Gérard Araud. Thank you very much indeed for being with us, Mr. Araud. First of all, this was an important vote designed to give the European troops, since European troops are now being sent, it isn't only French troops who will be on the ground henceforth, giving those troops the right to use force. How important was it that they get that right?
Well, first, you remember that the first step was to give a mandate to the French and the African forces, really to try to restore a modicum of law and order in Bangui. And they have done it. It's very dire. The situation is awful because there is really an incredible hatred between the Muslims and the Christians. And at night, they are really killing each other. So we need all the necessary support, and the Europeans are coming. They are coming. There will be between 500 and 1,000, and their mission will be first to protect the airport. We have 100,000 IDP who went to the airport for protection. 100,000, it's a huge amount of people. So the Europeans will protect them, which will allow the French to go to the city, to go to Bangui, and to restore their law and order and with the Africans.
Now, you said, you told the United Nations tonight that 10,000 more troops were needed in the Central African Republic. It seems like a huge figure.
No, no. What I said actually is that according to the Secretariat, the necessary force, but I think necessary force should be around 10,000, to face the challenge that we have in Central African Republic. But for the moment, we have 5,000 or between 5,000 and 6,000 Africans. You'll have between 1,500 and 2,000 French. You'll have the Europeans. So really, you are around 8,000. But for the Secretariat, they consider that 10,000 is the necessary ceiling.
The French, of course, went it alone in the beginning. The EU are now to send a force, about 500 troops as well to the Central African Republic. One senses growing frustration on the part of France that the international community has not done more on this issue.
Well, actually, it took time. It took time for the international community to recognize that we should do something in the Central African Republic. It was a forgotten crisis, it's true. But I think that now everybody has realized that the humanitarian situation there is awful. We have between 800,000 and 1 million of IDPs for a population of 5 million of inhabitants, and the killings and the intersectarian violence. So I think that now people are realizing that we should do something. The Africans are coming. I told you, 5,000 African soldiers. Now the European Union is coming, which means not only the soldiers, but also the political, the financial commitment of the Europeans. And very recently, we heard the new German foreign minister saying that Germany should do more in Africa. So I think the mobilization is there now.
One final question, Mr. Araud. We've heard there's been more violence, 13 killed yesterday alone. It seems that the violence is turned towards the Muslim minority as the ex-Seleka rebels are put to the side. Their camps are cleared by the troops. There is a fear, is there not, that things have simply gone too far and the cycle of violence that began back in March has gone too far now for things to be stopped as easily as they might have a long time ago?
Yes. When we arrived in the beginning of December, it was just after 2 days or 2 nights when the Seleka had indulged into an orgy of killings, really nearly 1,000 people of killed, most of them being Christians. So now we have, the cycle of revenge, retaliation, of course, not against the murderers, but against all the Muslims. So, as I've said, there is an incredible amount of hatred and resentment. The religious leaders are doing their best. They are really going throughout the country and calling for reconciliation, but it will take time to reach this point. So for the moment, we need law and order. We need also a political process so that the Central African people understand that they have to shift to a normal political life. But it's true, we are in a very dire situation in Central African Republic.
Gérard Araud, the French envoy to the United Nations, thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Please, thank you.
There's